guys, welcome back to Jurassic Collectibles. I hope you're all doing really well. Today we've got a cracking REBOR review in store for you. We're going to be looking at these three. It's the Ankylosaurus War Pig Magniventris. You can find the item featured in today's review and more at everythingdinosaur.com. Check out their site today. That's right, REBOR returned with three magnificent detailed Ankylosaurus models. We've got Mountain, Plain and Woodland, and we'll be taking a look at all three today so you can kind of weigh up your options and see which ones you'd like to get, if not all of them. I'm a big fan of Ankylosaurus as a dinosaur. It's one that I kind of knew growing up, and I've always had a soft spot for it, much like the classic dinosaurs, Triceratops, Stegosaurus. Ankylosaurus is up there for me as one of the really cool armoured herbivores. So I'm really excited to take a look at REBOR's offering and just get a closer look at this thing. As per usual, REBOR brings us this really nice black satin finish presentation box to keep your Ankylosaurus nice and safe. And you can see there it's got War Pig scale 1/35 scale, so that'll actually fit in with a lot of the existing REBOR line. You can see we've got the REBOR logo there. On the back, got a rundown of all the other figures you can collect. They are incredible, and we've reviewed all of these on the channel. Links down below if you want to go and see these various sets. So starting off with Plain, let's get this one out of the packaging and take a closer look. I have to say, it's quite a hefty box. I'm bringing in a craft knife here. Remember kids, if you're using a craft knife, do get adult supervision. Don't want you cutting those little fingers. And these are always really nicely lined with foam to keep your models nice and safe. So you know that when you're done having them on display, you can safely stow them away. As usual, we've got a really nice fact card there with loads of really interesting information on the Ankylosaurus, where it was found. Some fossil images there, as well as an idea of the scale next to a statue of David. Pretty cool. On the back, it's just blank. Very nice. And then if we open up the foam topper, you can see here is the Ankylosaurus. Now, interestingly, this is a lot bigger than I anticipated. Wow, okay. So it appears that the tail and the body come separately. I did not expect this at all. Wow, that explains why it's 1/35 scale, because I was thinking that's going to be quite big. Okay, so the tail and the body come separately, which is interesting. They've never done this on a REBOR figure before, so that's interesting. And this is the plain version. So let's get this one out of this baggie. This is getting really cool. I just noticed that these have little ventilation holes to let the air out, which means that this is actually a rubbery, bendy tail. That's awesome. I didn't expect that. I didn't know that was included. And if that wasn't enough, because it's made of a flexible rubber, when you actually attach it, it'll go in. But you could quite easily take that back out because of the material it's made of. So if you do want to stow it away, it's not a one-way ticket, which is really, really cool. And I just love the size of this thing. It's huge. So to give you a better idea of how this thing actually looks, here's a 360 on the turntable. And what an impressive piece. Really, really cool. The body seems to be made of like a hard rubber, if not plastic. And this area here is a bendy rubber with a wire down the center so you can actually pose the tail. Really, really nice. In terms of the posability of the tail, if I just bend it right back, you can kind of see the limitation of the tail. That's how far it will bend, so it's actually pretty extreme. So if you wanted to, you could have the tail swinging off to one side and have the Ankylosaurus coming in for attack or defense. Very, very nice. This thing is really appealing. Wow. Okay, so without further ado, let's take a closer look at this thing. Starting off with the head sculpt. What I really love about this is the sense of scale that you get from the eye being really minuscule and seated in this huge tank of a head. Is a really lovely way to sell you the size and power of this beast. I think that's a really nice decision. The jaw is articulated. You can open it up to make this sort of O shape. You can push it further and it gets pretty crazy, but you wouldn't obviously have that on display. You'd have it more like that. It already looks way better than Papo's Iguanodon, which looked really strange when you had the jaw closed or open. And if I open it further just so we can have a look inside, you can see they've used a really nice gloss coat inside, which gives the mouth a genuine wet look. Same on the tongue there. They've used browns and pinks to make it stand out. And you can just see teeth on the edge of the tongue there that they've included too. So yeah, really nice looking head. And they've used a gloss coat on the top part, on the horns and on the beak. The rest is matte, apart from the eye area. So where you expect, it's got that sort of glossy feel. The armor plates on the back here, these have a gloss coat on them. And it seems like the gloss coat lessens as it moves across the back. And then the rest of the body is matte. A beautiful color scheme. I love all this fine scaling going on across the body. Just an incredible sense of detail, and at such a huge size as well. I'm really impressed by the size and weight of this thing. Lovely toe claws there, and really nicely sculpted toes. The undersides of the feet have been sculpted. Nice broader square scales going on here. We've got all these little armor horns going on all over the body. They're really nicely individually sculpted, and they all have that lovely gloss finish. That contrast in the gloss finish really helps sell realism for me. I'm not sure if it would really be that shiny, but the fact that they've done it means that this thing looks more genuine because it has that sort of tactility to it. It has that sort of gloss and matte difference going on, that contrast, which really helps sell its believability. Really nice fine scales going on here. Each of them have been individually dotted with paint, like a sort of a dry brush pass has kind of brought out the individual scales. Really, really nice. Real nice sense of weight as well in the muscles. You can see them all kind of flexing there. Nice broad square scales. I haven't quite put the tail on there. Let's squidge that one back on. As we move along the tail, nice sense of detail is maintained. I don't mind this seam line very much. It doesn't look that different, despite the fact that we're actually changing materials from like a hard rubber or plastic to a soft rubber. Sometimes you would get a real difference between these two areas, but they've managed to maintain that quality. Really beautiful as we go down to the club tail. A really beautiful sculpt on that. Lovely airbrushing down the middle as well. Just incredible. Moving down the other side again, this lovely detail. I love the gradient from this reddish orange going down to this beige. I mean, if this is plain, then I can't wait to see what the other ones are like. Really nice muscle definition going down this leg. Nice feeling of the skin being taut against the body here. Move into the forelimb. Again, nice contrast in the pose. These legs splayed apart while these are close together because the body's in a curve. And you've got a nice sense of the folds in the neck here as well, just hanging down. And then we're back to that gorgeous head sculpt. I do think it's important at this stage to give you guys some idea of the sense of scale of this thing. If I bring in Off-Color Alan, you can see just how big this Ankylosaurus figure is. I did not expect it to be this big. I didn't expect the tail to be separate. So this is a really nice surprise, and it scales up really nicely with this Alan Grant figure. Thanks, Alan. There he goes. He's leaving the review table. I think this is going to surprise you. I'm going to bring in the Uteranus, which is the first figure REBOR ever produced. And this is in 1/35th scale as well. So these two are in scale with each other. And look how big this Ankylosaurus figure is. It's really immense. The fact that it's quite weighty is cool as well. It kind of feels like a statue, and it adds to its sort of tank dinosaur feeling. And I love the fact that the tail is posable. You can see it vibrating there as I put it down. And to give you more idea of the scale, here's the Papo Ankylosaurus. And you can really see how this one outclasses the Papo Ankylosaurus in terms of scale. You know, they've got similar levels of detail and different styles, but yeah, this one definitely wins out in terms of the fact it's got this posability and the fact that it's so huge and weighty. Moving on, let's take a look at the Ankylosaurus mountain variant. Quite excited to see what the different variants actually look like. This is the mountain version. Quite a mountain of a dinosaur, really, isn't it? Oh, quite an earthy looking coloration. Wow, cool. Nice. Wow. Okay, let's get that tail attached. And this one again is a rubber bendable tail. Really nice. Wow, these are incredible. Quickly going to the top of my favorite dinosaur figures list. These are really, really nice. Wow. I think what I'm seeing in person is actually being faithfully shown on camera at the moment, because I can see through the lens here, and yeah, this is how good it looks. This is incredible. It looks like it's stepped out of a film. The quality is just incredible. So here's a look at the mountain version on the turntable, and the detail on this thing is stunning. Really, really beautiful looking figure. So first off, we got the articulated jaw. Let's open that up just so you can see that he does have the same articulated jaw. If we look close up at the body, you can see it's got this really sort of earthy, weathered texture going on, and unlike the plain version, the armored pieces aren't done in a gloss finish. So this one's got an overall much more of a matte feel, which really works well considering it's got this sort of really earthy texture. It feels very lizard-like, and yeah, I just really appreciate that. You have got the bendy tail again, so you can pose the tail in various poses. And unlike the plain one, the tail is matte and it's done in a sort of like a bony finish. I think out of the two so far, this one's probably more realistic. So if you like your earthy tone, classic dinosaurs, I think this is probably the one for you. But I'd say get both. We'll get all of them, sorry. Because so far they're really impressing me. Look at the detail there on the top of that head. And I love all the paint passes that they've done on the horns. You can see that as they actually go up to the top of the horns, they transition from a lighter white to a yellowish colour. But then there's also browns mixed in there, so there's all sorts of washes to bring out the detail on those horns. So yeah, for me, this one feels a tad more realistic, and we will compare them at the end as well, so you can see them all side by side. Lastly, let's take a look at the Ankylosaurus Woodland variant. So cool unboxing these today, and thank you to REBOR for sending these over. These are especially cool, and I think are exciting to see unboxed, just because they're so huge and so detailed. Let's get these out. Always love reviewing REBOR's stuff. Okay, so this is the Woodland version. So actually, yeah, it's not too dissimilar. It's much darker. Makes sense. It feels more like I don't know, like the colour scheme of a woodlouse, if that makes sense. Let's get the tail out, and I'll attach the tail. Interesting. Look at the base colour. It's like a cream underneath, and that's what the paint does to this thing. That's amazing. So let's pop that in. Let's see if that fits, or I might have done it slightly wrong. Let's have a look. There we go. It will only fit one way, so yeah. So there we go, that's the Woodland version. So hopefully the camera is doing this thing justice. You can see all the detail on this piece. There's a really nice feeling of a gradient going from a dark colour to a lighter colour. It's a much softer, sort of airbrushed feeling gradient on this one. And again, we've got the gloss on the horns like the plain version. And yeah, just a very sort of dark charcoal, volcanic is probably the word I'm looking for, feeling Ankylosaurus. And if I haven't said it already, it's probably obvious now that these are all three the same sculpt. So they're the same Ankylosaurus sculpt, obviously. And you can open up the jaw there. You can see the gloss on the beak. I think that works really nicely. You can see the interior of the mouth has been sprayed with that gloss coat, and so has the tongue, a bit darker colour inside. What's really nice about this darker, sort of volcanic looking Ankylosaurus is that the yellow eye really stands out on this version. So actually you get a lot of contrast there, which is cool. It's like a darker grey on the belly, but a really charcoaly black on the back there. The horns have got this like transition going from like a brownish colour to a black. And like I said, they've all been sort of gloss coated. So they've all got that lovely specularity to them. Very, very nice. Again, bendy tail. You can get that one posed into some really cool swinging attack poses. This one actually has a glossy club again, and a darker weathering. I think I really prefer the mountainous club, the mountain finish. But yeah, very, very nice looking Ankylosaurus. Yeah, and I love that sense of airbrushing there going across the head. That is actually very, very nice. It's like something you get on a sideshow quality statue. Beautiful. So here are all three side by side, and yeah, it's just interesting to see them all next to each other. Obviously they're the same sculpt, but they look so different in terms of the way that they've been painted and finished. If I put some of these on side on, you can kind of see the variation in the paint scheme there. They all have this kind of gradient from one color to another going on. But the way the horns have been painted and finished really make these things pop in different ways. Probably most notably is the difference of these two in the finish from the mountainous version. The plain and the woodland version have a real high gloss on their horns, and you can see it there when I bring it into camera. You can see that real high gloss going on, whereas on this one, the mountainous, it's really matte on those horns. And personally, I think that looks more realistic. That's just my personal feeling. But if you put them all next to each other, the one in the middle doesn't look like it's maybe the most attractive. So you'd probably end up going for one of these two if you were to just kind of look at them initially. But yeah, this one I think is my favorite out of the three. Also the clubs, you can see this one's got more of an airbrushed look to it. This is the plain version with the specularity. It's got a nice glossy tail. You can see there, sorry the camera was out of focus. And then on the mountain version, it's much more matte. It feels much more bone-like and realistic to me. And then on the woodland version, we've gone back to almost like a semi-gloss. It is quite glossy actually. And I think personally, the glossy aspect looks a little bit more toy-like. Which maybe you're after, but I think for me, for realism, I really like that middle one. But they're all fantastic, and I'm so pleased to own each one. They display really nicely in a row as a kind of art piece, but it'd be really nice to have these three kind of attacking a dinosaur from all sides, or sorry, defending their herd. It's a really nice kind of look and variation to the three of these. And yeah, wow, fantastic work by REBOR. If you bring in the Papo Ankylosaurus, these two actually look related. So this could be an offspring of this model if you already have a Papo Ankylosaurus. The variation in color is kind of understandable for it being, you know, a young version of the same dinosaur. So yeah, there are options there to make this look like a parent and child traveling together. So yeah, interesting to note. You guys are probably going a little bit nuts about these already. So yeah, definitely check them out and pick them up if you're interested. Okay guys, as usual, rate, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Now you've seen it reviewed, why not pick up your own at everythingdinosaur.com. Link is in the description.